Hi and welcome to my channel. My name's Charles Delastic and this channel is Developing Extraordinary. It's all about how to develop an extraordinary mind, an extraordinary business and extraordinary wealth. So today's video is all about how to avoid anxiety and be more confident. Now most of us at some point in our lives and possibly every day have different levels of uncertainty. Now depending on the problem that can lead to high levels of anxiety, and high levels of anxiety can lead to rash decisions, people being unconfident in what they're doing and really overall reducing their performance. So across the board, the technique I'm about to show you today, or the techniques, are really valuable in all parts of your life. So without further ado, let's cue the intro. So today's video is about avoiding anxiety and being more confident. So the first thing you need to do is to deal with uncertainty. Now, different levels of uncertainty generate different levels of anxiety. And this technique works across life to help with uncertainty, improve your confidence, and therefore improve your performance across all different areas. So you can't always be prepared in life for a problem that you may come across. It may just literally happen, and being able to develop a high level of confidence in dealing with anything very quickly is a very powerful technique. So sometimes it's not a huge problem. It may well just be something like giving a talk, at a wedding or as part of your work, and really this takes us to Dave's story. Dave was sitting next to his best friend of many years. However, Dave was worried. It'd been a beautiful day so far, but Dave was just about to get up and do his best man speech. He'd never given a speech before in his life. He was worried. He was beginning to feel his palms sweat, his mouth go dry. What happens if he made a fool of himself? What happens if he froze in front of 150 people? What happens if he just ruined his best friend's day? All of this was rushing through Dave's mind with about 1 minute to go. With 30 seconds to go, Dave started to take action that he'd learned previously over the last month. This is what he did. Dave had approached me about a month before the wedding, explaining that he was due to be best man and he'd never given a speech in his life and he was really worried about doing it. He'd known that I'd given a lot of speeches and a lot of presentations in my life, and therefore was well used to it, and therefore he wanted some tips. So I asked him, are you prepared to do at least 5 minutes work every single day to try and resolve this issue? And he agreed. So this is what we went through. So right at the beginning I said to him, okay, it's all about dealing with different levels of anxiety. And how do you deal with that? So I explained it wasn't just this one thing of being able to deal with a presentation, but all aspects of dealing with anxiety and uncertainty. So the first thing you do with any level of uncertainty is to create a can-do, can't-do list. You write it all down, you get it out of your head, because if it's all in your head, it's just revolving around and spinning, and therefore you can't think straight. If you get it all down on a piece of paper, go through your list, make sure you've got it sorted out into things you can do something about, things you can't do anything about. Then you look at your can't do's and say, okay, has anybody else got a different perspective on this? And could I actually transfer some of those can't do's into my can do list? And therefore you then have a list on the things that you can take action on, and you keep referring back to that list and attempt to put the things that you can't do anything about out of your mind, because it's not down to you. But also this technique will help you with that list of can't do's as well. So the first thing you start to do when you're dealing with anxiety is to set up a system which I called a responsibility transfer. So a responsibility transfer enables you to put the problem away from yourself. Well, how do you do that, and does that make any sense? So what you have to do, and why this is related to a daily practice, is that every single morning, and maybe if you're not used to this, twice a day, even in the evenings, you set aside 5 minutes of time where you're quiet and you make a list of things that you're really grateful for. It could be very, very simple. Somebody who loves you, the fact that you've got your health, the fact that you've still got your job, you haven't got a toothache that day. Whatever it is, write it down and then think about the situation and why you're grateful for it. And really visualize it. And the visualization is a very, very powerful technique because your mind can't tell the difference between what's actually happening and the visualization of that event. So when you visualize an event, really put yourself there. See it. What did you see? What did you smell? What did you hear? And really, really put yourself in that situation. Now, when you're there, you'll also appreciate that a lot of things that you're grateful for are not really down to you. So you try and bring in a feeling of a benevolent universe because something has happened for you that's really good, but it could easily have gone the other way, right? And therefore it wasn't entirely your doing necessarily. So if you really bring in that thought of a benevolent universe, for some people it's their God, and that's fine. Whatever it is, something or somebody is looking after you to give you that feeling of gratefulness. Then at that point you feel stronger and confident. And if you imagine a time when you did a real fist pump, something really worked out well for you, and you really exacerbate that feeling of strength and confidence. At that point, you do something which neuro-linguistic programming calls anchoring. So for me, when I anchor strength and confidence, I do that. So you see that finger and that thumb. It's an unusual thing. It's not something you normally do, and therefore firing that anchor brings that feeling of strength and confidence flooding back into my body very, very quickly. I can even feel it as I'm doing this and I'm speaking to you now. Because where the body goes, the mind follows. So that technique of anchoring and linking it to a benevolent God or a benevolent universe and a time when you were feeling strong and confident will generate those hormones, get that oxytocin flowing in your body and make you feel strong and confident at the time, and it acts very, very quickly. It can happen within literally 15 to 20 seconds. So that's one of the techniques. So I explained to Dave about that particular anchoring technique, and then I said the next thing to do is to look at the responsibility transfer. So one of the things you do is you breathe deeply. Now, breathing deeply and through your nose and standing up straight and having your back squared off or sitting up straight, the posture itself helps generate breath and helps generate confidence. And if you breathe slowly 1 or 3 times, that in itself will start to calm your mind and increase your confidence just as slow. It takes the anxiety away, slow breathing. You remember the benevolent universe and you bring that in. You bring in your strong posture and then you fire your anchor. If you breathe deeply, set your posture, fire your anchor, there's the technique which will help you to proceed with confidence. Now, absolutely, this is a technique, right? It's there to help you be more confident and help you to improve your performance. It doesn't solve the actual problem if you've got a problem, right? So I'm not talking like Dave doing his speech. I'm talking about a problem in your life. It doesn't solve the problem, but it does enable you to deal with things quickly and in a more confident state of mind. It makes you less anxious, and if you're less anxious, you're less likely to make quick, rash decisions, and therefore more likely to come up with a suitable conclusion and a suitable action. Okay, so it doesn't solve the problem, but it does enable you to move forward in a confident manner. So what happened when Dave used this technique? What was the result for him? So Dave stood up, he squared off his shoulders, he breathed deeply in his 30 seconds while he was waiting for the crowd to settle, and started his speech. About 30 seconds in, looking across the room, looking at some smiling faces, he delivered his first punchline joke. It went well, he relaxed, and from that relaxed position he was moved forward well, and he was able to make a great 10-minute speech without any hitches, sitting down to a standing ovation. So what should you do as a result of listening to this video? The answer is take action, right? Taking action is really important. What you need to do is to practice every morning to embed your anchor. And then every time you feel a bit nervous, if you remember to practice firing off that anchor, getting your posture and your breath right, thinking in the benevolent universe and responsibility transfer, practice this stuff. If you practice it when something more important arises and you need that clear state of mind and that confidence, let's say a job interview or giving a speech, you've already practiced it every day and you felt better around it. And after doing this for a month or so, it really starts to embed and becomes a powerful technique for life. Really worth practicing, really worth doing. So I'd like to finish off today with just saying, really, acquiring knowledge without action is a complete waste of time. So what will you do to get the most out of today's video? That's the question you ask yourself. I urge you to take action on this really powerful technique because it will help you across all areas of your life. Okay, so thanks very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give us a like down below. There's a lot more to come. Please subscribe to my channel and you'll find there's a lot more going on to build your business, build your wealth and grow your mind. Thanks for listening. Goodbye for now. Thanks.